All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Dance to the Music. Shout out to Ladies of Hip Hop and Snipes again for giving me the space or letting me use the space. Check out both of their websites if you want to know more about it. What episode is this? 14, I think. Today's guest is a lot of people's favorite record dealer, DJ, good person. Welcome, everybody. Please welcome Shawn Dub. Hi.
Hi.
Hi and welcome. I'm making noise, internet noise. It's nobody but us in here. But yeah, how you feeling? How's everything?
Good. I got a little lost. I was riding my bike here. I got turned around, but I don't know. I feel good.
You made it. You made it.
Yeah,
so, you're known to, we're going to talk about you as the guy who works at Human Hit. Mm-hmm. But you're more than that. You're originally from California, actually. So tell me and the listeners a little bit about your upbringing, where exactly in California you're from, and how you moved, and how eventually you ended up on the East Coast.
So I was born in San Diego, but I was raised in Long Beach. San Diego and Long Beach are about 2 hours away from each other. So I'm Southern California. I grew up in Long Beach. You know, everyone knows it from like Snoop and, you know, Vince Staples and folks like that. You know, I grew up, I kind of grew through my adolescence. I grew up in different parts of Long Beach. So I lived in Signal Hill, which is a popular area. It's in the middle. I spent time in my teens on the north side. Which is like close to Compton, like literally right there where, say Dre says Compton and Long Beach, he's talking about where the 91 is, where Compton and Long Beach actually hit in the 710, I think. Yeah, 710. It's been a while. So I grew up there, grew up in Long Beach. Started DJing in Long Beach when I was young, about 19, 18, 19, right after high school. You know, I just did typical thing, got my first job. Took all my money, bought some turntables, started buying records. Wanted to battle, scratch. I was going, found friends that wanted to do the same and start learning through that. And then I just kept on buying records, just kept on buying music. Eventually, I started DJing for a couple groups. A group in particular called Due Process, which I became a member of, and then another group called The Percussions. I would kind of fill in when their main person couldn't do it. These guys were from Colorado originally, and so I met them going to record shops in LA, and then like after a while, one of the groups just asked me to DJ for them, and then I just started just running with them, doing stuff with them. I ended up moving out of Long Beach into LA, lived in Pasadena for a little bit, lived in Echo Park, and during that time I was working a job and DJing at night, and also just going to parties, going to clubs and just going out. Did that for a while. Early 2000s, I ended up moving up to the Bay, moved up there for work, and I had a partner at the time, and so I moved up for that, and then I continued to DJ, started playing more in the clubs, and that's where I probably got way more into dance music. So I was in Southern California. I had a loving for all types of music, but my background was like hip hop, particularly underground hip hop and like breaks and you know funk and soul stuff. And I was a child of like listening to the Beat Junkies on the radio and like K-Day and all that stuff. And so I was like a radio head that just got into doing it, started messing around and getting into the scene in LA. And then when I went to the Bay, I started to learn a little bit more about DJing and being a professional DJ, and also like partying, throwing parties and things of that nature. So I went from LA to the Bay. I was in the Bay for a while, and each place I've met people that have really helped me. So in particular, when I moved to the Bay, this is a gentleman named Damon Bell.
Oh yeah.
I'm always talking about him. I know people here probably like he's like this magical unicorn because I always like Damon Bell. Damon Bell. But he really opened me up musically. He became a friend of mine and literally just invited me over to his crib and showed me that I only know this much about records in a very nice way by just exposing me to his stuff. And that's where I really like started it to kick off to how I am now and what I play. And I got more into disco. I got more into just like music in general, not genre based, but more production and artists and styles. And I learned how to play and mix differently because of him. And I started to meet other people that I would later on when I moved here to like start linking up and doing stuff with. So I spent some time in the Bay till about 2010. And then I had a small stint in DC. I was in DC for like 9 months. It's like a baby. And during this whole entire time, I was always working a job. So I got to the Bay working at Trader Joe's. I did that for years. I was a lifer. I had wore the flower shirt, all that shit. And then I left. I took like a break and I DJ'd for like a year straight. And I was like, I loved it, but I was broke all the time. So I went back to work.
we need to survive.
Yes. And I decided to work at Whole Foods. And that allowed me to travel anywhere in the country. Okay. It was really cool.
They do transfers.
They do transfers. So does Trader Joe's. But the thing I liked about Whole Foods at the time was the transfer portals were really easy to do. Also, you could adjust your insurance. So I was like all about that. That actually saved my ass by the time I got to New York. So, so I went from DC, worked there, and I DJ'd a little bit, but not really. It really kind of started over, and I didn't have my collection. My brother, one of the smartest things my brother had me do, he was like, "Let me hold on to your collection while you're moving around in DC because you knew you were going to go to New York." Move. It was the best move because I was going to bring all my shit there, and I probably would have got stuck. You know, and so financially it helped me out to where I was able to make a good move into New York, found a spot, and got a job. I literally, to this day, I never forget the day. It was May 11th, 2011. It was a Sunday. I had just enough money to pay for the tolls that my friend John Jazz, I called him, drove me up from DC to New York, to Crown Heights, and I got a small room from a friend that I used to work with at Trader Joe's back when I was in the Bay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I moved up to Crown Heights on Franklin and St. John, and I started working the next day. I had a job the next day, and then I just hit the ground running. And yeah.
Before, I'm gonna pause real quick and go back again because I would like to know what your upbringing was in California as far as music goes. Like how did your household look like? Besides you listening to the radio, what was your if you grew up with both your parents, or like how was there music around? Like what influences did you
totally
get?
I mean, I was around music 24/7. My dad, who wasn't there the whole entire time, but he was there until like my early teens, about like 13, 14. He's a jazz musician by trade. Plays the sax, plays tenor sax, plays all flute instruments. And when he grew up, his family had a band, like a church band. He went from a church band to a band that he was in high school with. He actually has a record that I actually have where his high school band went to Europe.
Wow.
And performed. They did like jazz standards, very basic stuff. But you know, he did that part. He ends up joining the Navy. That's how he meets my mom. My mom's from New Rochelle, New York, but she got relocated when she had her stepfather relocated the family to Hawaii. So when my dad and my mom met in Hawaii and then came to Long Beach, where I grew up. In Long Beach, it was, like, of course, a lot of jazz music, a lot of R&B, a lot of, funk. Got hip hop at an early age. My mom had like a crew of friends. My dad had a crew of friends. They all hung out. Folks from the South, from the East Coast, and from there, like San Pedro and stuff like that. Just music was always around. My mom and her friends threw parties on a weekend. She always hates to tell this, but this is one of the things I love about my mother is she had a crew of women, she had a crew of women, and then they had another crew that was men and women. So the men and women crew was called the brown crew, and because they all drank brown liquor. And they used to use those satchel, those water bottles, like those like leather water bottles. They would put liquor of choice inside there. So that was the brown crew. But then they also had, the women had the Long Beach bitches. Now the Long Beach bitches were actually famous. So the Long Beach bitches consist of my mom, and I have like a bunch of godmothers. There's Tammy, there's Benita, there's Lynn, there's Kathy. I'm missing a bunch of other folks. It was about a crew of maybe, the immediate crew is probably like 6 to 10, and then there's like probably another.
Oh wow!
Like 10. Oh, they were deep.
Your mom rolled deep.
They rolled deep. They threw these parties, either at each other's house, like the backyard, or each other's cribs. Everyone had a nice home. I grew up in a very like loving and family oriented. Everyone worked, so sometimes you would be at other people's cribs. Benita in particular, who's one of my closest godmothers, and who also like got me started. She was the one that kind of gifted me her records. So I heard a lot of stuff, man. Like I was listening to like Brand New Heavies, Loose Ends, Frankie Beverly and Maze, but I was also listening to like ISIS, X-Clan, Snoop Dogg, like Will Downing, Rochelle Farrell, Azimuth, like I had a lot, Bob James. I had a very broad and eclectic upbringing, and then just being in Long Beach in general, like going through grade school, the music is everywhere. And, then add MTV and, The Box and like VH1, all, I was also a kid. I would sit on TV and just be searching. And then I started, also once I figured out like, I could go to record stores, I just started going to record stores. But like at home, waking up on a Saturday, you would hear like Will Downing, Rochelle Farrell, or this is an artist called Milky Blue that my mom loved. Also Vertical Hold, I always remember that. Like Vertical Hold was something I would hear like on Saturdays. Saturdays would be the day when we clean up the crib, and either mom's had something to go do, or I would go with her, or I was just hanging out in the neighborhood, things like that.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier, I think you started DJing when you were 19, or around that age. I have a question. Was it something specific that you wanted to, I guess I can use the term, you wanted to be when you grow up at a certain point? Like a lot of artists or a lot of DJs, producers, they sometimes their first thing that they get into is maybe visual arts or something completely different. Here, there's another one.
That was me. I swore in high school, and I tried to get into it, and just financially it became a little overbearing, but I wanted to get into animation. I was really into like drawing and also like 3D work, clay work, stuff like that, and woodwork. I would cut out. As a kid, I would make battle scenes because I was into comics. So I would like trace out or draw my own battle scenes and then cut them out of wood and then make the scene itself. Yeah, I don't think I have any of that stuff. My brothers kept a couple of things, but I would draw characters all the time. I would never call myself a graffiti artist, but I drew and wrote in that style. And that's what I thought I was going to do, the trade that I was going to get into. I thought I was going to get into design. And then I just kind of like, after high school, my attention span just like whatever. And I started going out and seeing people DJ. And the more I saw it, it just became tangible for some reason. Like it was the only thing I feel like after high school that I could focus on. I got deeply into it, and it was scratching. It wasn't even about DJing, like playing music for people. It was like, I want to cut. I want to scratch. I want to like battle.
Did you ever enter any competitions?
No, I think I entered a few. I would do a lot of like, I would do anything that was non-battle oriented. So I would do like jam session type stuff.
Okay.
We had a thing in Long Beach for a little while called Scratch Club, and you could, to get in for free, you did a scratch. You know, you had to pick a card. It was pretty cool. You pick a card, and then whatever card it told you to do, it said like baby scratch, you do baby scratch. You know, transform, you transform. You could do that scratch, and you got to get into the club, and then you could sign up to just do what we call Q&A, which you would just do live, like just live improv basically.
Okay.
So I would do those. I always had friends. I was always friends of friends that were really freaking good. And I would just go support them. Okay. And then eventually I started DJing parties that they would have. And then that's how I started to like get more into DJing actually, and like playing records. Because I just had more of a knack for that. It came a little bit more effortlessly than cutting. Cutting, it took me a while, and but I was so determined to get it down. And yeah, so that's really where I started. I was like, I wanted to cut, I wanted to scratch. That's all I wanted. I wanted to be the DJ in the crew. I didn't care. I didn't even really care about making beats, to be honest. I just wanted to cut.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right. So, 2011, you said you ended up in New York. That must be the time. Yeah, that works out. When I remember you coming to LPR. That's I think where I remember you first.
I would come on a Wednesday sometimes. It was right when I started.
Wednesdays, yes.
I started at the time. I started going to I Love Vinyl parties. So when I moved to New York, Geo really took a liking to me. We had mutual friends in the Bay, and so when I came out, he would just like invite me to. At the time, he was doing Submerser, and I would come and go hang out with him there. And for some random reason, he wanted me to come and play one time, and I played, and it was so fun. And from that moment on, he would always just find ways to get me involved in stuff. And then he introduced me to Scribe. And then me and Scribe and I hit it off really well. And I'd known the other members through other people like Amir and John Oliver. And then eventually I just started going to the parties. And when I started going to those parties, then I found out about Rich's party as well, that you were working, right?
So the reason why I used to be Rich Medina's door girl, is that a term? No, door person,
no,
whatever.
Door person.
Yeah.
You're really good at it too. You were legit like stone face, like, cool, but you made sure like, hey, if you ain't on this list, you paying.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And
awesome.
I've heard that's a story for another time. But that's the reason why I remember your face from back then, because you used to come to Rich's party at LPR. Okay, side note. So you linked up with not just the I Love Vinyl crew, where you were part of the crew at some point, or were you just playing?
Eventually I joined the crew. Okay. I started off like just going, and then I started helping they used to do this thing when they would take photos throughout the night of the records they were playing and then put them on the screen. Oh, it was really dope. I mean, like I always say, I Love Vinyl was a little ahead of its time, I think, and a lot of things were created because of I Love Vinyl. I think personally, because those guys, for them to sacrifice, it was 6, 7 guys, and they, and plus the door person, and everyone got treated very well. It was an organization, how everyone got paid, and they did that consistently. I mean, like 7, 8 years, something like that. Wow. It was like 3 years before I joined. And I think I started going the second year when it was at Southpaw and LPR. And yeah, that was so important. I think a lot of people started to hear me play because I was doing that party. Even though I was already kind of playing other places, I found my own little niche doing my own thing. And I think that's why they brought me in, because I was playing at spots. I've always had friends that have had my back and just wanted me to play, flashback to the Bay, it was multiple people. One in particular, Anthony Marshall, who one part of Lyricist Sound. Okay. He would always be like, "Yo, man, you need to go to Brooklyn. You need to come to Brooklyn. You would do very well there." And then also one of my good friends, Rubik's, Rue, who said the same thing. And, I got there, and immediately once I started DJing in New York, I felt it. I was like, oh, okay, this is my speed. Like, it's a little bit, everything is welcome in some way, shape, or form. And it may not necessarily be in every place, but there's a place. And for me, coming up in California, everything was spread out.
Yeah.
Even in the Bay, everything is spread out, and it was niche. And those cats, I always remember my OGs back in the Bay, when they would go out to the East Coast or other places, they would have so much fun because they got to get a little bit more open than they would be back in their home.
Ah, okay.
So I took to that, and I was just like, okay. So when I just got opportunities, I just maximized them. I just showed up and played, and ended up playing a lot of places early on that I was really looking back and like, oh damn.
Besides you, number one, knowing already people in New York before you moved there, you getting to play kind of right away when you got there. What were some of the first impressions of the city itself when you moved there?
Oh, it was fast. I was fast, and I worked in the city at that time, so I was taking the train in the city every day, like, or 4 or 5 days out the week, and it was just so fast, and I loved it. I feel like maybe if I came straight from LA to here, maybe I wouldn't have loved it, but because I lived in San Francisco, and then it's like a mini version, and then moving to the Bay, moving to Oakland, and then like coming, I don't know, I loved it. I love it. I mean, that's why I'm still here. Like, it beats you up. I'm a glutton for punishment, though. I like that. And I felt like it was the first place where I felt like I could compete. It felt I didn't need to have a lot of amenities and extra things to do things. I can get on a train and go to my gig. I didn't have to drive a car.
Right.
Like, I didn't have to, there was a lot of little things. I could go and, I could still play records at that time. Because you think about the time that I started here, everyone's really Serato, like, you got files, you do drives, and and I could barely hold on to a computer to save my life. It always my shit would break down or something like that. I had a good friend of mine. She laced me for a little while. Drea goes by Darling Chuck. She like helped me get a computer, and I utilized it for a while, and eventually, I think I ended up getting it back to her because she needed a computer at a point in time. But during that time, I was like, oh, finally, I can do Serato and stuff like that. And I realized, like, I don't need it. I can play records. And then joining I Love Vinyl, and to where I was playing twice a month, doing all vinyl parties. And then, there were so many places where you could play wax. You didn't need to have, the files. And I always played, my head was always left. I always wanted to play the things that not everyone was playing. I just wanted to play, I wanted to add the things, and never wanted just to play the safe route or just like play the role. I always wanted to find a more of a left way of playing, and you could do that here. You could, because there was places, and and that changed what music I got into more, and I started getting more into like house music and like I collected that music before I moved to New York, but I never heard it the way I heard it when I got here.
Yeah.
And that just changed everything. Because there was things that I was already kind of doing instinctively that they were doing, and it was just like natural. I was like, oh, this is what you do with this stuff. Oh, I didn't even know I could play this like that. Like, oh, like, can we curse? Yeah. I was like, oh shit, like, like, wow, like, that's what I was trying to do, or I knew that record was this, like, getting to have that kind of experience. So, yeah, this is the first place I felt like the first place in my life I felt like I fit, You know, I never felt like I fit when I was in California. I never felt like I fit when I was in the Bay. I always felt like I was a kind of on my island, you know, in my head. And so moving to New York, it was like, oh, my stuff in my head can actually get out now. And it's like, cool.
That makes sense.
I'll deal with this. I'll deal with this shit.
Yeah.
You know, I'll work. Fuck it. Whatever. I didn't care. I was working 7 days and going out and DJing, 2 to 3, making ends meet. Did not care. You know, maybe I should have cared a little bit because I was getting older, but I was just like, man, it's gonna work. I just believed in that. I believe in it. Still to this day, I just like it's gonna work out. You know, like because I felt like I could actually compete. You know,
when when you said you worked at Whole Foods, and then now for many years now, when did you start? Was Human Head the first record store that you worked at?
It's the only record store I've ever worked at.
I know you've probably been asked that many times.
That's
but
fine.
I sincerely don't know. When did you start working there? And we've spoken about this briefly before, but what would you personally say is the best and the worst part at working at a record store? Because to me, it sounds like, is it working at a record store, is it as romantic as I like it to be, or I think it is
for me
in my head?
For me, because I can only talk, everyone has different experiences. It's one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life, but it's the people that I work with and the environment that I was blessed to be in and the way that it works. I was there at the right time. Everything happens for a reason. I was there. If I had got another job, record store job, I probably wouldn't do it. I'd be doing something else. The best thing, I'll say, I started working at, that's the blurry part. I can't remember. It's honestly in between, it's either 2013, 2014, we're going to be 11 years this year. This store started in 2013. I came, I think, about a year and a half after working in there, but I was going there before. I was shopping there, and I eventually started selling records there, and that's how I fell into working there.
Got it.
I was selling my records that my brother had kept, and he brought them here. And I, at the time, I had left Whole Foods, and I was working beer distribution jobs, and I got laid off. And I was just started really DJing enough to like kind of make ends meet, but I still was just needing enough, so I would just start to sell some of my stuff, and that's how I got into the store. The best thing about working at that store for me is that I'm on my time. No one's really hovering over me. I'm pretty self-managed, and I have a gear in my head that I can focus on and get things done. I think the hardest thing about working the job is being okay that there's a ceiling, knowing that you're only going to make so much, you're only going to get so much out of this, because I work for someone else. It's like, I don't run my own store. They treat me like that, but I go out and do all types of stuff that they're like, that they, and it's encouraged, but it's still someone else's baby. I always say, I live in someone else's dream. I just happen to fit in the dream, and it works out pretty well. But I think one of the hardest things is understanding that that's someone else's dream. And, that gene can switch at any point in time. I know I'm not going to be there forever, but I enjoy it so much. I enjoy the process. I enjoy who comes in. I enjoy even the people that are a hot mess. I enjoy everyone. I find enjoyment in it. I've worked since I was 16, and I've never had a job that I've loved so much. And I've loved a lot of my work. I've always kind of worked jobs that I try to have fun with. Everything I've done has always had some kind of fun to it. That's me. I'm a child at heart still, you know. And so, yeah, I don't really. I guess the worst. I think the worst thing is that whatever you have that's clean is going to get dirty. I think that's one of them. Like everything you have is just going to get dirty. Don't think you're going to be flashy, at least at the job at the store I work at. Every store is different though. So, you know, you got to think about that too. But my store, yeah, it's controlled chaos. It's dusty, but it's cool. It's cool. And it's a, you know, it's a place that I love and, you know, and fit in. But eventually I'll grow out of it. Like, it's just, you know, like it's not the end. It's not the end. It's not like this is where I'm going to be forever. Yeah. Even though I do say that I don't mind dying and just be
human behind the counter. Really?
Maybe not behind the counter. Probably like in the back area. Maybe not behind the counter. Okay. Maybe behind the back area. It's nice.
Did you? Again, I can only speak of what I think one does at, you know, selling records. Did you kind of, because even though you must have been very knowledgeable about music when you started there, I'm sure compared to now, after working there for so many years, you can only expand as far as like your musical knowledge. Did you just learn by doing, or were there certain requirements that people, or since this was the only store, maybe that question is redundant, but maybe I should ask, what is a quality or requirement that people should have when they work at a record store?
It depends on the store. It really does. So for me, what worked and why I meshed really well with Travis and Steve is that my background is working at grocery stores, stacking cans, you know, working and shipping, understanding that part, because that's how Travis that's how Travis works. And I was the first person that started working there that drank the juice, that understood what he was saying. And so once that part, he was able to like, oh, it was just about numbers. And so my knowledge helped because what I started, which was the 12-inch department there, 12-inch singles and dance related stuff, I knew more than anyone else that was working there. Okay. So, but it wasn't that, I didn't really know a lot. And I learned that through working there. You know, I was learning from the people that I was buying records from. But I understood how to just manage the space, manage my time. I understood when to, you know, I needed to speed up, and I understood when I needed to like lay back, you know, and I was through the years of working at grocery stores, customer service, all that stuff, man, serving people. Those were my skills. The knowledge of music, I knew a lot because I collected records, but man, you know, you don't, especially here in New York, there's so much stuff here. You don't know jack crap until you get into this stuff, man. There's just so many nuances. There's so many labels and records and things connected to what and da-da-da-da-da. There's a lot. And once you start to understand it, it starts to connect. But the way for me, it was because I went in blind and I just followed the skill set that he wanted, which was at the beginning was to list X amount of records into a database, getting it on Discogs. Then it was create a physical part to this thing. And then it was you're buying and curating this thing. So those were the steps that I got into. Okay. And honestly, because everyone was really a novice at the knowledge of music, we all learned together. And I think because it was like that, we all grew. It was a core of us that grew together. And that's why the store worked really well. We bought a lot of crap in the beginning. We did. I mean, you know, people won't talk about it, but I mean, Human Head, the reason why we were able to survive is that we were taking everyone's junk at first, and we learned how to use the junk. And then once we learned how to use the junk, we got better at buying we just bought better as we got to 10 years now. You know, we just buy better, and we still do things and buy things that other people don't really buy because we find ways and angles to utilize this stuff, and we don't really throw a lot of things away. You know, if anything, we're a processing plant. We really are. You know, it's very not sexy at all. We're very much like, you know. It's funny all the time. Everyone wants Travis to DJ. They're like, oh, he must have amazing records, which he does. He has amazing records. He will never play. He will never play. Giles Peterson wants Travis to DJ. We and Travis look at each other laughing. You know, so that's, you know, we play that game together. I kind of play that role for him, and he plays that other role of just being the guy that it's like, yeah, I could ship your stuff better than anyone else, you know. I can put it on a pallet and get it out, you know. That's his thing, you know. And he's, you know, now he's, you know, just like all of us now, our knowledge for music is a lot better and our taste is different. You know, do anything. You do something enough, you start to gravitate to things that you love. But in the beginning, yeah, we didn't know jack crap. You know.
You mentioned Discogs very briefly, and if you do have an opinion on this, but I'm wondering, right, if number one, the physical store where you sell used records, or on Discogs, and this is more a general question and not specifically for Human Head, but I'm wondering if you have an opinion on that whole price gouging on certain records, because I'm interested in if a record is $100, $200, all expensive, whatever. I know it can go crazy. Who actually makes money off of this record? Where does the money go? It goes basically to the seller who sells the record. Yeah, right?
It depends. It depends on how you acquired the record. You know, did you buy it in a big collection and you spent $2 a record for like 3,000 records, and you got this one record that's worth $300 or $200, or is it a record that you bought when it first came out and it was $12.99 and now it's $100 record, or did you pay for it when it was $50 and it was on this trend and now it's $100, or did you buy it at $100 and you don't like it anymore, but you know it's got value and you want to move it? You know, when you're selling on Discogs, there's a percentage that you lose, you know, because Discogs makes its money. I don't remember what the percentage is. It's something in like, I don't know, maybe 10 to 20%, something like that. Maybe even be more. That's a lot for me. That's a lot of back end because I don't really deal with Discogs too much anymore. I pretty much in the front of the store. As far as price gouging, you know, that's the nature of the beast. You know, like we had eBay before that. True. You know, and you had fabricated prices on whatever you thought things were. I mean, shoot, you know, I always make this analogy. There's BD and AD, before Discogs, after Discogs, like the Bible. And there's people that fall in both sides. There's people that were working before Discogs, and their pricing is going to be different. You know, you adjust to it. And there's people like myself who all I know is Discogs because I didn't start until 2011. It was already going. And so I utilized that mechanism, that format to understand the market, you know, the current market of what it is. But it doesn't necessarily, you know, like there's still these nuances because there's things that you can't sell on Discogs. And that world is its own little thing.
What would that be?
Bootlegs, unofficial releases that get flagged basically.
Okay.
And there's things that are bootlegs that still exist on Discogs, but every so often things get flagged because someone's like, this is an unofficial release. Okay. They're technically not allowed to sell that on Discogs. I honestly don't know what the real reason is, but it probably has to do with like copyright stuff and things of that nature. What was I gonna say? Oh God, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? Oh shit.
Just the price gouging. Well, like and it's not, I don't think it's a question per se. It's more so if I would be an artist, right, and I know my record is out there and then I see it for like $100, $200, I'm like, and again, like if you signed a deal with the label back then, right, that whatever the record is selling for, you don't really have an instant. Or if you're putting it out
yourself, and right. You have to be savvy. You have to understand, if you're gonna press up records, you should understand the market that you're working. Whatever you're doing in life, you should understand the market that you're in, so you should learn the market. You should learn that these things happen. And I think people do. Like there's folks like, Brownsville Ka, MC from Brownsville, dude sells his stuff, like off, like I don't even think he does Bandcamp. I think he sells it physical pieces to his fans at a certain price point. And those records go for crazy money, and I'm pretty sure, like he found an understanding of how that works, like it I guess depending on how long you've been in the game too, because like it's kind of hard if you were pressing records back in the 90s, and you got rid of all your stuff through whatever, facts of life or whatever you're dealing with, or you held on to your stuff, and you still got some of that stuff, and you're putting, I think there's people that have done well, and I think there's people that have suffered. But at the end of the day, I think you just have to understand the market that it is, and you have to you got to kind of submit somewhat to it. I think you could sit there and you could hold on to the last day, or you could be like, hey, how much am I going to get out of this at this time, and how can I prepare for the future? If I want to continue to press up records, how am I going to go about it? A lot of people now don't press up a lot of records, and I think it's very smart. I think because the tangible piece is valuable as long as you don't oversaturate.
Okay.
Once you oversaturate, though, then it just floats around. And it's you understanding your market, your audience, and being truthful to that. Okay, I can sell 300 to 500 records, or, shit, I could sell 1,000 records and they all gone. And how quickly you can get rid of those things so you're not sitting on stuff, that whole game.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. I'm trying to think of what you just said earlier, and I thought about. I'm gonna come back to that. I want to come back to your DJing part. How do you have a residency at the Lot Radio? You have a residency at Public Records. You play at a bunch of different other places around New York City and wherever you go to. I'm wondering how your preparation for each time you play looks like. Not every time, I should correct myself, not every time, but more so the difference in like you play at a vinyl, I call it a vinyl bar, one of those in New York, smaller venues versus a club night at Public Records, for example. In that, like, oh, I'm packing 50 records or I'm packing 100 records, more so like your thought process or like what you expect or what you hope to find that night or on the dance floor.
Yeah, it depends, because it depends if I'm going to play solo or if I'm going to play with others. When I play with others, especially at Public, I play in all the rooms, and it's a different approach depending on the room. When I'm playing in the sound room, which is my Soul Follow residency, I'm usually setting up for the next person. I'm usually like kind of just opening it up.
Okay.
And so I always say I want to give them a layup. I want to put them in a position just to go. I want to get them in a position to dunk the ball, to like whatever. Take what I'm doing and just take us somewhere. Part of that too, because I love to dance. So like usually when I'm done, I'm like, all right, let's boogie. I'm ready to, like I did my part. Let's get it in, Yeah. I don't think, for me, sonically, I don't really care where I play. Meaning that when I pack, how I pack, I don't necessarily go, oh, I'm playing, because I don't really play a lot of, like, even at the sound and in Public. The reason why I have that residency and I really don't play a lot of other places, actually, I kind of just play there, is because sonically I can get away with everything, and I don't have to worry about having a certain type of record to keep someone on the floor, because the sonics there are great. I can get away with a lot of stuff. I can play 45s. I can play album cuts and have room to make things line up with a bigger record, with a bigger sounding record. And then when I play other places, usually I'm getting kind of picked to play a certain style anyway. So I really just do me. I don't going, how do I get this crowd?
It's never, there's a lot of DJs
I don't,
that be like, oh, I want to, the whole read the crowd. Like, do you pay attention to that at all?
I read the crowd as far as who's in front of me, but I don't overthink of like, all right, I'm gonna bring this for this crowd. I'm gonna do this for this crowd. Oh, they're gonna have. I go, how am I feeling? Where I want to go? How do I want to do this? What time am I playing? Who's playing after me? How long am I playing? Do I want? Do I feel like I want to tease today? Do I feel like I want to go into a left brain? Do I want to be more, current? Do I want to play? Do I feel the classics coming out of me? Like, I kind of go off a feeling. I don't, at this point in time, I don't do a lot of prepping before I go out. Some people would be kind of mad sometimes, and part of that's because of my work schedule, man. I be running around doing 101 things and they had to go play for like 6-7 hours. And I'll have like a couple hours or an hour to put things together. And I just think because I'm at the shop all the time, I'm around it. It's an unspoken thing. I don't know how to put what it is. I just have a feeling. I have a feeling of what I want to play. My partner, she always gets on me about that. It's like, you need to put your stuff together. And you're like, what are you going to play? She'd be like, and I was like, I don't know. I got it. I also always say, I don't know. I got it.
Isn't you working at the shop? Like, you just said it. You working at the shop the days before you have a gig.
Yeah.
You already have it in your head.
I hear things.
And you kind of prep.
But sometimes I could be processing through stuff that has nothing to do with what I'm playing. But I do hear things. So it does affect my judgment. The playing, listening to whoever's playing on the main or whatever, like our setup, we have our own little stations to check things. So I could be having a day where I'm just going through stuff, listening to stuff, listing it, just pricing it. And that does. But man, this city, man, I could honestly not listen to a single record, ride my bike around this damn city, walk around this damn city, listen to things, listen to people, hear stuff, hear the city, and be able to take what I have collected and come up with something. Because this city breathes and it moves and it that's why we should be good at our job here, playing music, because this place is interesting as fuck. It's interesting. It has moving parts. The city talks, man. It talks. It will tell you. No matter even with all the changing of how gentrification and shit getting really controlled, it's still this breathing city that's volatile, and if you put yourself in it, you can experience a lot that just helps you. You could find the music that goes with that. You find your theme music. I think that's what I'm doing. Usually I'm just like, what's my theme this week?
I see. Okay. I remembered now what you said earlier when it came to your job at Human Head, and how you talked about time management and how you pace yourself, or when you pick it up and when you can slow it down. I'm wondering if this same concept or principle also applies to you DJing.
Yes.
When you know how to,
yes.
I'm gonna have to pick it up, I'm gonna have to put the foot on the gas versus I can take a little break here.
Now that I'm thinking about even just having this conversation, all we're doing is managing spaces, man. You're managing what's in front of you, So I guess I kind of lie. I do think about the people that are in front of me. I don't play like, I'm just gonna keep my head down and play. I am experiencing what's going on, but I don't necessarily need to have a certain record to make that. And I do manage that. Like if, things are, especially if I'm in a, in a thing where I'm on a bill of a bunch of different folks and maybe we're at a certain time, I'm like, yeah, we're going too fast. Let's slow down. Mm-hmm. Or, yo, someone just beat it. Let's just let's chill for a second before we get back up. Or, they got to, let's keep on riding it. It's a feeling. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you feel it and you see it in people, how people act. You could wear people out to where they just go home. You think, oh man, they ain't feeling it. It's like, nah, man, they just got beat and then you just beat right back on top. And they've been drinking and they've been smoking and they've been hanging out and talking. They tired. They want to go home, and these people just came in. Mm-hmm. And so now you're actually playing for them, or, like, you get the position where you're like, all right, I know y'all tired. I want y'all to go have a drink for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Or I want y'all to go sit down, go use the restroom real quick. play
Makes
things
sense, yeah.
to play that. You're the vessel with strings attached to everyone in the room, mm-hmm. and you're just playing with the fact, and you can, everyone has their thing that they can do, and you just, it doesn't always work, but I think that's the point. Like it's magic. It's like, and sometimes the magic trick isn't as impressive as it always. Sometimes mm-hmm. it's like amazing, and sometimes that was cool.
Yeah. Really quickly, just out of curiosity, do you pick your own guests for your residency, mm-hmm. or okay? So you I want to play with this.
Sometimes it started off collaborative, and then the last. Well, that's not true. I guess I've picked everyone. I've okayed everyone that plays. And when I'm in the sound room, when I do the Soul Follow party, that's why that one's called Soul Follow, because it's my party in a sense, and so I bring people that. I try to bring folks that have range and also maybe don't always get to play at spaces like that. And people that are just like, friends of mine. Like one of my favorite parties that I've done is I got to bring Damon Bell to Public, because he was a person that really, him and JT Donaldson, who also has a residency at Public. He comes and plays at least once a year. They were the ones that really kind of showed me this, like playing for dance floors. Mm-hmm. And so when I moved to New York, I always been wanting to just give that platform to Damon, because to me, he's one of the best DJs in the world. And I will say that, I will stand on that. That man is one of the best music playing DJs in the world. He could play so many different ways. If someone would give him the opportunities to play, you would be saying the same damn thing. Mm-hmm.
I know him as a producer. Mm-hmm. I've never heard him play. And it's funny because just at the UMA, just this past movement, we weren't fighting, but it was Dion and I. We were both like, I put on a record, and I just saw the deep black, not logo, but I saw the name on it. I was like, I put it on there. And it was just on one side, but it was the other side that played. And Dion came in and I was like, what's this? I'm like, oh, I don't know, but I think it's AB. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. And we were all like, both of us were like this. And then once we turned the record, it was like Damon Bell record. And then we're like, oh, okay. And I don't know. I hope Dion found the record, because I didn't pick it up and I didn't get it. I was like, I'll leave it for you. I don't But just a side note. But yeah, because that happened recently. Mm-hmm. So when you now speak about Damon, it's like, okay, I hope I get to hear him. There was something else though that I wanted to ask. The name of the residency is Soul Follow. What does soul as in the sun, or soul as in soul?
It's whatever you want it to be. It was actually a fake like graph name I used, and it was also name of a God, I can't believe I'm saying this. It was the name of like a character in a fake comic that when I was in high school that I was trying to put together. And I've always had the name, and I've used it for many numerous things. And so when they asked me to, do a party, Francis had asked me, "You need to name it." I was like, "All right, whatever." And I was like, "You know what? I was like, let's give this name life." And then when I used it name, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? It kind of is. It's a mixture of like like following your soul, like following where your heart takes you, like going where you need to be, not where you want to be. Like just soul follow, like just like like following your heart, and getting lost in that and being okay with that. There's no beginning or end to it. It's just and then I thought about it. I was like, oh, the people that I've picked have been kindred spirits. A lot of them are people that I've loved, like the music that they made and my DJ experience with them. So like I've had the first person I had was one of my favorite DJs ever, which is Brian Butter from the Mixtape Shop. Butter to me is a music like savant. Because he knows exactly what he wants and what he likes, and he presents that in a way that I don't see a lot of people doing it. He's not scared to play his way. He was the first guest that I had, and then like Patrice Scott, who when I moved to New York, I got to start to go see at different parties, and that's like I've always like my dance experience where I've gotten lost, where this turns off and your feet and your arms and your body are just doing things. He was one of the people that would get me there very easily. Like kindred spirits that I have, that I even that are younger than me, I look up to them. The next party is Dion and Thomas. Right. And I love those guys so much because they, certain people do things for reasons, and there's certain people that just live. And they live their music. They live what they do. They, like it's in them. There's no faking the funk.
No, they're not.
Not at all. And the two of them are amazing. And I met them while working at the shop. And I got to see them play, like a few years ago, when it was one of the parties that Theo had, where he had Thomas, Nicole, Julian, Dion. Oh God, who am I missing?
Watching that one.
Was Mefta there too? I don't know if Mefta was there too. But basically had like the whole crew. They all got down, and it was just so cool. It was just so like, it made me think of I Love Vinyl. It made me think of parties I used to do back on the West. It made me think of Damon. It made me think of all the folks that, I call kindred when it comes to like playing music. And we always just see things the same way. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's 2 weeks from now, July 6th.
It's next week.
Is it next week? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Next Saturday. So when this podcast comes out, it's probably going to pass already. But yeah, it's soon.
Oh, damn.
You mentioned, I'm paraphrasing. If I can remember it correctly, you said, what did you say? There's a difference between wanting to be there or needing to be somewhere.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. And it reminds me also very recently when we spoke at the Muscle Cars Juneteenth party, the block party they had. Shout out to Muscle Cars, by the way.
That was an amazing party.
That was amazing. And we talked about a lot of things about getting older and like, seeing people come and go and some people stay, and like how I really don't like the word scene, but that's what it is, I guess. So sometimes it changes.
Scene, it changes.
How it sometimes it doesn't changes, and the good and the bad things. And I'm wondering how you see, after so many years here in New York, but also after being in music for so many years, how you see your role in the city and in the community.
I see myself as I'm a servant. I'm a servant to the community. Like even, I'm just, that's my thing. Like I'm here to help. I spent so many years helping other people get things done. And even as I play a more selfish role for myself to DJ more now and to be more in the mix, I'm still just playing the things that I've found. I'm a servant. We're servants. As DJs, we're servants. We're the vessel. We're the, it's the music and the people, and you're the vessel that moves the thing, and you give to that. And that's, this community here is so intelligent and so fast. It's way more intelligent than people think that it is, because people can learn how to do this so quickly here.
All right.
There's so many ways to get involved. There's so many, and it's been happening way before even now, like even in the 90s and stuff. How many people were just doing something else and then become this thing? Like I've recently found out, talking to Danny Crivet, how when they started Body and Soul, how they involved Joe Classell, and then hearing the story of like Joe was a dancer and was not into anything that was going on there, and got into it, and then created his own world. And it just tells you that like you don't have to be groomed to do this stuff. You're a lot of times it's magic, man. You're at the right place at the right time, that you need to be there. And that's back to like saying like where you need to be and where you want to be. I spent a lot of places going where I wanted to be and not realizing that I didn't need to be there. I spent a lot of years doing that.
Again.
I spent a lot of years going places where I wanted to be, thinking that I needed to be there, and not knowing it wasn't where I needed to be. And I wouldn't say I suffered from that, because you live, so you learn. If you're living, you're learning. So you never lose in that sense. But man, yeah, it took me a long time to like be okay with that and embrace that, because really that's where you get into your own superpowers, because you're actually being where you need to be, and you're giving. When you're where you need to be, there's more that's given out. You get more out. You go where you want to be. Sometimes it's just a waste of time.
Yeah. And it's a certain feeling that comes with it, where you're just like, it's the one, but yeah, it doesn't feel 100% right. Not at all.
And you will, like I talk about that because, like I said, it messed me up a lot. I spent a lot of years going places thinking that I needed to be there, and it was always this feeling that I would leave, even if someone was like, even if it was happy, or even if it was a good thing that was there or whatever, you leave and there's something you don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
Just recently I went up to Montreal with my partner Kels, and her and I played 4 nights at these different venues. Guthrie and Alina. I always call her Alina the whole entire trip.
We'll find it. We'll find out
when they get mad at me, but it's okay. I love you guys. They brought us up. They have a party called Ferris, I think.
Okay.
And they brought us up, and we played those 4 days, and I felt so satisfied after the trip, musically. Like I got out what I needed. You don't get that all the time. And it was, and they reached out to us and planned this thing, and we came up and we showed up and we played, and every time I went somewhere, I knew I needed to be there. I knew I needed to be there. And that felt great. And those are the things I think, you know, especially as a DJ, that maybe I'm doing a little different, utilizing that I have a job and that I don't have to play everywhere. Because I don't really play everywhere. I say no to a lot of things, and I purposely don't go places that I don't need to be because, you know, at this point in time, I've already done that part. And I want to be where I'm wanted. I also want to be where I can give the most. Because, you know, time is not infinite. And we don't have a lot of time as much as we think. We don't. And shit goes like this, you know.
And we can't. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Number one, we can't be everywhere.
Can't
that's
be
the
everywhere.
first. And number two,
We're not
again, we
supposed to.
don't need to be everywhere.
We're not supposed to be everywhere.
And going back to the block party, I think we spoke about how muscle cars and how they created a community and their community and how it grew over the years. And it's just sometimes you don't need to be part of creating something. You just have to step back and let it happen and appreciate it and support the other people
Just show
what
up.
they're doing. That part,
Just show up, man. You know, it was funny talking to folks there at the party because, you know, everyone comes in like, oh, this is great. And they want to, you know, have this conversation of how great it is. And I'm like, yeah, all you have to do sometimes is just be in the space and take it in, man. You know, the point of this is to have fun. You know, someone has done the work for you to have fun. Engage in the fun. You know, you don't always have to be the stamp or the main thing, you know, and it's fine. It's important. I think it's more important for people to show up to things than to create a bunch of things right now, because honestly, like, we create too much stuff, then everything's thinned out.
Yeah.
You know, we're a community that isn't that big. We're not that big.
It's crazy. It's a big ass.
You think that within the experience, but we're not. We're not compared to a lot of different things. If we sit down and go, oh, what are you into? You know, people that are into the NBA, billions of people, millions of people. You know, people that are into wrestling, you know, millions of people. You know, like people into like underground dance music. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions, but
small bubble.
A small bubble, you know. But that was the point. It's underground. It's not this surface thing. It's a off the beaten path. It's not something that was supposed to be this big popular thing that everyone's involved in. You know, even though it is changing to that, it's becoming that. You see it, you feel it in how, you know, people register the songs that you're playing and what they consider as great or cool, because it's on such a bigger platform now. It's beautiful in a sense, but I think, you know, we lose, just like the more you get exposed, the more things are governed, the more of the magic that's lost. Yeah. And I like the magic. I like not knowing. I like playing places where there's 7 people and they're losing their shit.
No, I agree.
And they're crying or they're screaming or they're happy or whatever. You know, I love that, opposed to playing for thousands and you're just happy that I'm there. Yeah. You know, I like the effect approach. I want to affect people. I want it I want you to, not necessarily you don't have to leave with anything, but I want it to, you know, touch the heart in some way, shape, or form. You know, some kind of energy. And it's a lot harder. Not everyone's as skilled to do it on a broad scale. Yeah. You know, I don't think I've ever played for more than 1,000 people. I don't think I've ever played more than that. And the times that I've ever had those opportunities to play for that many people, I don't think none of them are our favorite gigs. You know, it's when I've played for, you know, 20, 30, 100 people, you know, those are the ones that are like, I remember the most, and I feel like I get the most, like, back or fulfillment because I can feel the effect.
Right. Right. It's more intimate. You have a better connection or easier connection to the people.
There's so many different ways we can do this. So there's so many different types of DJs you can have. It's figuring out which is the one that you want to be and live, you know, and keep on pursuing it. You know.
Really quickly, your radio show at the lot. What does that? Because that's what Sticky.
That's what's Phil. The Sticky Dojah.
Phil, yes. Number one, the name.
Records Before Rent.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's self-explanatory, but at the same time, who came up with it?
I mean, it was
at this point. What does the show mean to you guys?
For me, it's a show where I don't get to see Phil that much, so it's my personal time with Phil. Everyone gets to see it, and I love Phil so much. He's such an awesome dude. He's a great father and a great DJ, and just his consumption of music is so cool. He's just he's just in it. But it has a lot of different meanings. So the name of the show is based off of a slogan that was put on our tote bags. So we have these tote bags that you've probably seen all over the place.
I mean, the tote bags, were they made in the store or for the store, or was that
for the store?
You guys made
No, that was for the store.
Okay,
that had nothing to do. The show came afterwards.
The show came
The show is funny because
people recognize you when you use the bag.
Yeah,
you can be anywhere and be like, oh, I have that bag.
I've seen that bag in so many weird places, man. It's awesome. And I don't know if this is factual, but I believe Steve, who's the other owner, I believe he came up with the saying, and it was on the bags. It was on the bags before the show even happened. And then when we got asked to do a show, Phil put that together. I was just like, well, it's no brainer. This is it. Records Before Rent. And also because like we've all played that role. I've definitely spent all my money on records countless times in my life. That's a whole nother.
We don't need to talk about it.
We don't want to get into that part. But and also it's about the store. It's always been about just like, originally it was just like playing things that are in the store, and it's just grown from that. Now it's really just us sharing that time playing music that we fall into, or I try to play things that I've come across in the shop. I try to play things that I may have gotten from friends. I try to just play things like that, and we don't practice anything. It's literally just us, improvising, and we're both pretty seasoned DJs, and he's great on the mic. So it's just been this nice 1-2 punch, and we've secretly have been able to be there without no one, saying anything for like, I think 7 years, 8 years, something like that. We've been there from the first year. We're like, I think the summer of the first year that they started. Wow. We've been around since then. We were doing Thursdays for a long time. But eventually Thursdays started getting annoying because it was affecting our work schedule. and then Phil and his partner had their kids, so also affected the time. So we moved it to now it's 10 p.m. to 12, 10 p.m. to midnight. And yeah, we sometimes have guests. We've had guests here and there, but for the most part, it's just me and Phil, and we just play music. He's always finding stuff. He never starts, same with me. I'm never not consuming records, so it's very easy. It's a 2-hour thing. We could honestly do 4 or 5 hours if we wanted to. And it's just been lovely. Phil also documents. He creates a track list for everything and uploads onto YouTube, so you can find, especially the last 2 years, all the episodes, has all the track lists. He does all that. I don't. Yeah, that's all Phil. That's his contribution. He's not really at the shop anymore. And I will always talk about things that are happening at the store, and yeah, and that's it. We don't really put a lot into it, but it's done a lot, and it's it's traveled a lot
your
further.
quality time with Phil.
It's my quality time with Phil. That's literally what it is.
Okay.
It's my quality time with Phil.
That's cool. I like that. Talk to me about producing music, because in my Googles, I found one track that you did together with Toshi. Mm-hmm. Is there more, or did I not look correctly?
No, there's not a lot of stuff. I've always been a part of things. I never really have produced anything for myself. I always said when I get around to it, I'll get to it. It's not really of importance to me. Okay. But that was the records that we edited and redid were records that I was playing. One record was record I was playing at Cedar Room, and that's the Lost and Ron, the Kukuru sample. And I would rock doubles, so I would just extend it. Okay. And one time, Toshi and I, we were big potheads, and this is what it is. We smoke a lot of pot, and I was on a tangent like, oh, we should do it. We should, he was like, we should make an edit, and I was like, all right. And I came over, and we worked on that track, and then worked on the Jupiter Dance one, and I've kind of had we had some other ones we kind of messed around with. I probably will start trying to make some more stuff in the next coming years, but I'm not a producer. That's for sure. I'm not a producer. I can tinker around and play things. I can help. I can find stuff, but I mean, if I'm more of someone who's just like a muse to the thing, I come up with ideas, bring stuff to it, but I don't really sit down and make beats and do something. I'm really a listener. I listen to stuff more. I'm usually just searching for music, listening to it, opposed to like, I want to make something. But the itch is definitely like the last few years have been like, I just haven't had the time to sit down. I work a lot. I work. That's most of my time consuming. One thing I hate about record stores is that it's time consuming. It takes up all my time.
It's not work from home situation.
Sometimes it is work from home because I am working at home, but like it's a physical thing you do. Yeah. So it's just like, I go through thousands of records on a weekly basis, like that's a lot. My hands get tired.
So, okay, there might be some more stuff coming from you eventually, but it's not a priority. It's not like something that you're focusing on right now.
I'm ebb and flow. I can, you give me the time, I'll figure something out. But right now it's just been more. Like I wanted to get 10 years of working this job, and now I have those 10 years, and so now I'm like, I want to take the experience of the 10 years and utilize it in things like that. I think the next thing I will do is start pressing up music that my friends are doing and put out stuff for friends and people that I feel like that have a sound that I like, that I think needs to be exposed. I think that's the next step for me. That's what I want to do next. Just because I've been selling records for so long now, I have a better understanding. And I'm just gonna get organized and put stuff out. I want to expose some things to the world that I think don't get, artists that I know that don't really get. I think that do. One of them is Damon Bell. So if you see this, Damon, I'm gonna be asking you for stuff soon. So I already know you got it. So we don't have to talk about it. It's great.
I have two more questions because you just answered one of them. What's next for you? You just said that. If there's anything else you feel like you want to share, that not party-wise, because we can always find you online and see what parties you have. You just mentioned your next party at Public Records, which probably has happened by the time this interview comes out. But anything else that is out of your ordinary that you might do over the next until the end of the year, or I don't know.
Well, I'm headed to the UK. I'll be selling records at the We Out Here Festival. I believe I'm going to be DJing in the record tent as well. It's not confirmed yet, but I'm also before that going to play at this place called Cosmic Slop. I've never been there
I've
before.
heard about this.
But I've heard amazing things about it. Shout out to Geology and Charlie Dark. I think they're the two that kind of recommended me. And I think they've reached out. One of the gentlemen reached out and asked if I would play, and I said I would. And I believe the date is August 9th. So Friday. I don't know if I'm playing the whole night myself yet. But I will be there. That's something out of the norm for me because I don't really play overseas at all. It'll be my first time doing an official party in the UK. And I'm also going to be going to Japan in September for the Cedar Room party, which is Toshi and Yuki's party. It's a private party. I'm just going to be hanging out with my friends, playing some music. Other than that, that's about it. Doing the, and I should know that because I'm actually repping them right now. The Dope Jams Festival, early August as well. With Paul.
That's upstate.
Oak Hill.
Okay.
Paul Nicholson, Joe Cassell's playing.
Nice.
Charles Webster, Trax, Ivan Monegro, Johnny Romano. I think there's a few other folks that are playing as well. And it's throughout the weekend. I don't know if I'm just playing one night. I just know I'm going to be there.
Okay.
Which is honestly like the best party I could have gotten asked to because I have so much love and respect. I've made a note that that's like me falling into a record store as part of me going to Dope Jams when it was here on Classen, and I love that place because it was magic. It still is magic. I mean, they got a barn with a club in it and, and an outdoor system that's amazing, and they've had some of the best people in the world. And R.I.P. Fumi as well, who's also part of that, who just passed away recently. Like that's just a blessing, I think. Like I really feel I take this one very not serious, but like I'm definitely gonna bring things that speak to the heart because I feel very fortunate to have this opportunity to play on the sound system for Dope Jams because they just do such a great work. I'm definitely a fan of them.
Okay. Two more questions. One, hopefully, do you have a perfect dance floor?
Yeah, my perfect dance floor is weatherproof. Has a retractable ceiling.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what the material of the floor would be because it has to be weatherproof, and I haven't figured that part out yet. Wood wouldn't be the greatest idea just because after a while
we gotta make the wood weatherproof then.
But 4-point system has and it can hold like 50 people, 50 to 60 people maybe tops, and it's also sunk in. You can sit on the sides and you can come in to like almost like an arena,
Cielo-ish,
like arena, kind of Cielo-ish, yeah, like an arena in a sense, but 50 holds 50 people, but it's wide, not long.
Okay, makes sense.
I want it to be wide, 4-point system, and also those I forget what they're called, but the speakers that hang in the middle, those little like pyramid speakers, I forget what they're called, but they
hang in the middle,
like the mid-range speakers, yeah, they hang in the middle. So you have the 4-point, then you have like one or two mid-range, so you get full sound.
I don't think I've ever seen the pyramid.
They have them at nowadays. They have those like they're like little.
Oh, okay. I need
sometimes they're
to pay more attention.
Sometimes they're like that, but sometimes they're like pyramid. I should know, but I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay, you described it very well. And then my last question is that I ask every guest to name me 3 tracks that they relate to dance, and it could be anything. If it can be a track that is just okay, that's dance music
Mm-hmm.
genre-ish, or that is a song that reminds you of certain people dancing to it, or it's a song that you danced to it, or you played it and everybody went crazy. I know that the only parameters it has something to do with dance, since this podcast is called Dance to Music.
So one of my favorite records to at the end of the night to get lost in, and I haven't really played it, but I've heard other people play it, in particular Scott Grooves recently, and this is It a Crime, Sade, because it's very theatrical. It's very hands and spin. You could spin if you want. You can, there's so much room in that song with the lyrics and what she's talking about. You can reenact. It's one of my favorites. It's so tough. There's so many.
It's tough.
It's
Pick
just
two more.
I'm just thinking about what pops to my head. Larry heard Amnesia, the title track, the track, Amnesia. I love that record. How many do you have to do?
Three. Some people be like, "Oh, can I do 4? Can I do 5?"
I can probably do more. I'm going to hit this third one, and they're all going to start spitting out. Slave, Just a Touch of Love. Barbecue shit. Love that. That bass line, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's a good one.
It's an easy two-stepper. You can't mess it up. You could be off beat, and you still gonna be on beat because that bass line guides you the whole entire way. You're gonna be okay. I love that record, Just a Touch of Love, Slave.
Very good choices. Very good choices. You got one more or no? Then it's with that stuff. I don't want this to be a headache, but
no, it's not a headache. It's more just like trying to like put everything where it needs to be. Something recently that I like. Marcellus Pittman, Pick Yourself Up.
yeah,
Right up. Yeah, that song is great.
Yeah, I played this the other night, and as I played it, I was like, "Yeah, I'm playing this for me."
Yeah,
I don't know if y'all get it, but I'm playing.
It's floaty and funky, and I love lyrics, chanting. So chanting, use chanting throughout. The lyrics are very short but get to the point. Build. And you just I like that record. I like that record a lot.
Yeah, maybe one day Marcellus will be sitting here and having a chat.
Oh, you gotta come on down. Come on, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Is there anything that you would still like to share with us that I haven't asked?
Also, so I do a party with my partner called Maneater. It was her party, and she was hopefully gracious enough to bring me along. So anytime you see Maneater, that's me and Kels.
Okay.
Kels is a phenomenal DJ. She does a party at night, moves on a regular, and she's a one of one. Plays. I still don't understand it. It's amazing. I like that. I don't understand it. It's one cool thing about New York is there's so many different styles of DJing here that you can get through. So a lot of people don't know I do that party with her.
Okay.
And I think our next party is at Mansions, which is very fun because we, her style is a lot of there's no genre style, but she thinks about every freaking record that she plays and is very particular on what she plays. And so I kind of play off of that. And you get a different style out of me when I play DJ with her.
Okay.
Also, in September, we'll have the 11th anniversary of Human Head. So we'll do something outside. It'll be fun. We're putting it all together now as we speak. Yeah, just be on the lookout for me. I'm definitely going to be playing more as we go and working at the shop less, getting getting more people involved. Shout out to Sam. We also have a new employee, Bearcat.
Yes, so I've heard.
Bearcat is our new employee.
Bearcat will be part of the team.
Part of the team. Sam has been amazing, who's also a great DJ as well, Sal Paradise. He has taken what I started with and has started to detail it. And so there's a lot more little place, little areas to find things, because he's starting to curate what we've brought in.
Is he the one who with the pretty handwriting?
No, that's Brooklyn.
Okay.
That's Brooklyn. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I think Sam does have pretty handwriting too, probably, but he is part of the 12-inch department, which is myself and Sam, and now Bearcat. So as it grows, I plan to be out more and buying more throughout the world, actually, just like going out and buying records. So anyone in the world, if you want, you got dance music to sell or any type of music to sell, and I'm in your neighborhood, you can just give me a call, because I will buy it and I will ship it from anywhere. Doesn't matter.
You heard it.
You heard it here.
Heard it here.
That's what we do. Put things on pallets.
And you do it very well.
Yeah, we do it. We do all right. We do all right.
So that was it on my part.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for taking the time and riding your bike all the way out here.
That's easy. That's fun. Hey, come on.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to next week.
Yes. That's right, because it's someone's birthday.
Yes, I will be getting older, which is a good thing.
Yeah, at this point.
Until it's not, but I will be celebrating, because at this age, shoot.
Hey, you know what though? There's some magic here in Brooklyn, because I tell you right now, being a dancer, being into dance, I don't really consider myself a dancer. I kind of boogie more than a dancer. Yeah, it's spin, two-step, twist, shake. But living here, our elders here age so graciously here, and I feel like the more you're here and the more you get into it, it rubs off. And
it does.
I don't feel my age when I'm here. I don't. I really don't. This place kind of, especially with the parties that we get to go to and the places that we have at our disposal, it's like, you're kind of in your own little time warp.
Yeah.
I don't feel it until I step outside of here. When I go to other places, I'm like, oh yeah, I ain't that young. But here, I feel I wouldn't say ageless, 'cause, brother have pains just like everybody else, but you feel, you don't feel bad, you don't think about it. There's so much going on.
That's true. I think the city doesn't. It reminds you a lot of times that you're getting to a certain age, but because it's so fast moving, you don't really have the time to sit down and be like, I'm getting older, and have to really think about it. And then, like you said, you have the example of the elders that you see at the parties that we like to go to. So you do have that as a role model, so to speak.
I gotta tell this story. All right.
Please
so
do.
2012, I believe. It was over at Sugar Hill Disco. And Sting International was there outside with his system. First time I heard his system. Amazing. I actually didn't really get it until maybe 2 more times I got to hear his system, how good the system was. What I did get, though, was the people that follow him. And in particular, I could never forget this. The gentleman had a cane. He was walking around saying what up to everybody. He was cool. Sting played a song that hit him. He literally dropped the cane, got in between the 4-point system, spun, danced, damn near did a front flip or some sort, some acrobatic move. Like it was like, what's the Star Wars where Yoda like goes off and he just drops his cane, goes and gets into his ninja style, and then comes back and picks the cane up. It was like that. It was cray. And since that day, I was just like, whoa. Like, wow, these people here, like, there's on a whole nother. The music is like giving them superpowers. It's like crazy.
Yeah, the power of music. And it reminds me also of something that Theo said. There's people who want to dance and there's people who need to dance.
Yeah.
And again, this goes into what you said earlier as well. So yeah,
I need to dance. I like it's very important. I would think it's more important than me playing music, to be honest, because playing music is very easy to do because I can be at home and I can listen to my stuff. Right. But being able to go out and dance, have that space, have that freedom, have that time to get lost, that's precious to me. That's very precious to me. And finding places to really get that off is not always easy. So I'm very appreciative when I have those opportunities.
I agree. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
And what's the online situation? Where can we find you? Tell us your Instagram. And
Instagram is Shawn Dub 365. Very simple. I have stuff on SoundCloud. I don't update a lot. I'm sorry. I have stuff on YouTube. I don't update a lot. I'm sorry. And I have stuff on Mixcloud. And you can find me everywhere. A little fun one is that I used to do a radio show with Danilo Braca on the Sound of New York City, and it was called Let's Get Lost. So if you put my name in and you put Let's Get Lost, there's about 40 episodes that I did.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think it was 2016, 17 during that time, maybe to 2018. So there's a bunch of music that I was playing that doesn't really see the light of day as much. So if you're looking to dive in deep, that's one of them.
There's a bunch of stuff out there. I looked, so just so you know. Once again, thank you. Shout out to everybody who's listening or watching on YouTube. Again, I keep saying this all the time. Please hit the like buttons. If there's a heart, hit the heart button. If there's a subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. I just want this little podcast of mine to grow and for people to actually see all the interviews and listen and just get to learn about the people and their music. Shout out to Snipes again and to Ladies of Hip Hop. And I think that's it on my part. I see you again, hear you again next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.